And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, we just had Governor Jesse Ventura back on. He happened to be with us last Friday, and then Lord Monckton came on, saying that ClimateGate is an absolute fraud. It's all a scam. He was, a few years ago, on the bandwagon with them. He was fooled. He's now admitted he was fooled. He's very angry. A lot of supporters, well-meaning supporters of this fraud, are now waking up en masse, thanks to the work and the research of Lord Christopher Monckton and his incredible ClimateGate Caught Green-Handed report that's up on his excellent investigative site that we'll be giving you the URL for. He's with us graciously for the rest of the hour to report on day 1 and 2 of the Global Government Takeover Summit. The UN's calling it the most important summit in history. YouTube says our future is being decided in Copenhagen. They're pushing it. Lord Christopher Monckton, 3rd Viscount of Monckton and Brenchley, has worked at all levels of government, has been a top journalist, has a scientific organization advising governments and corporations, was one of the chief advisors to Margaret Thatcher. The list goes on and on. He really needs no introduction. But Lord Monckton, we go to break in 3 minutes. We'll come back with plenty of time to break this down. But first off, the ClimateGate blew up even bigger than I thought it would. It is collapsing. You are now there at the center of these crooks trying to declare their global hegemon. Tell us what's happening in Copenhagen.
Well, it's almost as though ClimateGate hadn't happened, to be honest. The vast majority of the world's mainstream media have still not really said what's in the ClimateGate emails. They may have mentioned it once or twice, as the BBC has, not given it anything like the coverage it deserves, given the magnitude of the draft treaty which is under consideration here. When I went into the conference yesterday to ask for a copy of the treaty, I went to the UN Documentation Centre and said, right, I want the current draft of the negotiating text. And they looked at me as though they were baffled. You know, the librarian there, who had stacks of papers behind her in various languages, she just looked as though she'd never heard of it. So I insisted, and it took about 10 minutes, and they consulted each other. There were 3 or 4 of them arguing over it. None of them would produce the document. So I then did a quick interview with a passing TV camera and came back to the attack, and I said, look, I know this treaty exists because this is what the conference is all about. It's discussing a treaty draft. And they said, oh, no, we've got no such thing. And I said, well, you have, and I want it, and I'm not going to be put off. And if I am put off, there will be an international diplomatic incident. And only then did they produce a stack of papers 2 inches thick, 1,000 pages, most of which was just complete irrelevant. But right at the bottom of the stack, when I ploughed my way through it, I found hidden the draft, or the current draft of the treaty. And once again, they are desperately trying to conceal from everybody here the magnitude of what they're attempting to do. They really are aiming to set up a world government. They no longer use the word government in the treaty. I think we've frightened them off that. But all the institutions of this world government and the enormous powers it's going to be given over free markets to tax the American economy to the extent of 2% of GDP, to impose a further tax of 2% on every financial transaction, and that could come to a very large percentage of GDP overall, and to close down effectively the economy of the West, transfer your jobs, if you're listening to this, to third world countries. All of that is still in the treaty draft, even after all the negotiating rounds, even after the fuss that we've all made to try to make them rethink, and even after ClimateGate.
Well, this is just devastating information. So this appears to be breaking news because I've been doing searches every hour for the latest draft text, and the media was saying it wasn't released. There was this Danish text dealing with the way the taxes would be implemented. We'll find out if that's the same text you have. That's up on the London Guardian website right now. But this is massive breaking news. They're also reporting taxes on all air travel globally, taxes on all fuel globally, just a complete takeover. But this financial tax, wow.